Johnny's in the basement mixing up the medicine. I'm on the pavement thinking about the government. I don't care just what you do. If you want to have a picnic, that's up to you. But don't tell me about it, I don't want to hear it. You see, I just lost all my picnic spirit. Stay in my kitchen. Have a picnic in my bathroom. Had a funny old that's a coming along. So guns and sharp swords in the hands of young children. It's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, and it's a hard, it's a hard rain. They're gonna fall.
But one song clearly emerged as Dylan's early masterpiece, establishing him as his generation's voice of social conscience.
Isn't how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is...
At the same podium from which Martin Luther King would give his famous "I Have a Dream" speech later that day, Dylan sang "Only a Pawn in Their Game," perhaps the most explicitly political song he ever wrote.
A bullet from the back of a bush took Medgar Evers' blood. A finger fires the trigger to his name. A head hid out in the dark. A hand set the spot. I'm a-thinking and a-wondering, walking down the road. I once loved a woman, a child I am told. I give her my heart, but she wanted my soul. But don't think twice, it's alright.
From "The Times They Are A-Changin'" became the credo for a new generation that was becoming wary of anyone over 30.
Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you can't lend your hand, for the times they are a-changing.
Though he still appeared on stage with a folk musician's battered acoustic guitar and harmonica rack, Bob Dylan was becoming a rock star. The only missing ingredient was electricity.
It's something you did, God knows when, but you're doing it again. You better duck down the alleyway, looking for a new friend. A man in a coonskin cap and a pig pen wants $11 bills. Take me on a trip upon your magic swirling ship. My senses have been stripped, my hands can't feel to grip, my toes too numb to step. Wait only for my boot heels to be wandering. Strike another match, go start anew. And it's all over now, baby blue.
Dylan's days as the golden boy of folk music were over. Undaunted by negative reactions, he charged ahead with his electric sound. The media quickly dubbed the music folk rock, a label which Dylan rejected.
I don't play folk rock.
What would you call your music?
I would call it, I like to think of it more in terms of vision music. It's mathematical music.
But suddenly, folk rock was a movement of its own, with Dylan at the forefront of groups like the Animals and the Byrds.
Now you don't talk so loud. Now you don't seem so proud about having to be scrounging your next meal. How does it feel?
His biggest hit ever, Like a Rolling Stone, climbed to the top of the charts. Dylan was turning popular music into a serious form of artistic expression. But the personal costs were enormous. The pressures of non-stop international touring, outstanding contracts for both a book and a film that Dylan had yet to complete, and the drugs he was taking to keep himself going were all building to a breaking point. Off stage, Dylan appeared frail and hollow-eyed, sometimes mumbling incoherently. Then on July 29, 1966 in Woodstock, New York, where Dylan had long been coming to retreat from the public eye, it all came to a crashing halt. Maneuvering his Triumph motorcycle down winding Xena Road, his back wheel locked as he went into a dangerous S-curve, sending him first to the hospital and then into years of seclusion. By the time Dylan re-emerged, the 60s, the era he had helped to define, would be all but over. Dylan did not perform in public for the next 3 years. The more Dylan stayed away, the more his legend grew. Had his voice been forever silenced, would there be no more forecasts of where it was at from the unwilling weatherman of the counterculture? While the hippies played in the mud, Dylan reinvented himself yet again. Nashville's Skyline introduced listeners to Bob Dylan, country music crooner. This time, even his voice had changed.
Lay, lady, lay, lay across my big breast bed.
You hurt the words that I love best and cover up the truth with lies. One day you'll be in the ditch, flies buzzing around your eyes, blood on your saddle.
Here comes the story of the hurricane, the man the authorities came to blame for something that he never done. Put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been the champion of the world.
Bob Dylan, the symbol of the 60s.
To who?
To the youth of the 60s.
Who says that?
Wasn't you the symbol?
I didn't never said that.
Do you think there's any difference between you in the 60s and the Bob Dylan today?
I couldn't tell you. Is there a difference between you in the 60s and you of today?
Well, it may be the devil, and it may be the Lord, but you're gonna have to serve somebody.
As fans booed and screamed out for rock and roll, Dylan refused to play his old songs and sometimes responded with sermons warning of Armageddon, the devil, and the end of times.
As long as I keep it straight in my mind who I am and not get that confused with who I'm supposed to be, I think I'll be all right.
Playing with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers at Willie Nelson's Farm Aid benefit, Dylan found the band that would take him back on the road with a rigorous schedule of touring. Many feared that Dylan's relevance had slipped, but Dylan kept on keeping on, sustaining himself with the one thing that had remained a constant through a life of changes: the music. Nonetheless, honors and awards have been heaped on Dylan in recent years. To no one's surprise, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame welcomed Dylan as an inductee in 1988. A Grammy for Lifetime Achievement soon followed, and the French government bestowed Dylan with its highest honor for an artist. Throughout the 90s, Dylan was receiving the kind of retrospective treatment most artists don't get until they die. The succession of tributes and awards reached a fever pitch. Dylan performed for the Pope at the Vatican. He was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Literature.
Bob Dylan.
And the first baby boomer president presented Dylan with the prestigious Kennedy Center Award.
He probably had more impact on the people of my generation than any other creative artist.
While this slew of Lifetime Achievement Awards suggested a career in its twilight years, Dylan proved his best work was not behind him.
Sometimes my burden is more than I can bear. It's not dark yet, but it's getting there.